The Black Morel is such a marvelous find whenever you go into the woods, especially when you find a carpet of morels in front of you. That definitely is going to put a smile on your face. So the black morel belongs to Morchella conica, and this is a complex. This means that there's a list of species and varieties, and the features among them they're very similar. There are very few differences. So you'll find Morchella elata, Morchella angusticeps, or Morchella deliciosa belonging to the same complex. And you can't really see much difference in between these. Um, so where you'll find it? You'll find it in both conifer and hardwoods, but usually you'll see it under conifers, and definitely you'll see larger specimens under conifers. Me personally, I found smaller specimens under hardwoods, but you might have a different experience, and this probably depends on the spots where you go or locations throughout the world. Now, if you're thinking about worms, they don't really like morels that much, probably because they're hollow inside and they don't really have lots of food to eat. So I would say that the worm attack is rather moderate in this case. Now, the morel is local. This means that you won't see it everywhere, but rather locally, and where you'll find one, there might be some more around there. So you have to look well. And somehow the color of the mushroom it's blending into the litter, forest litter. So make sure that you open well your eyes because you might just pass near them. Um, yeah, they're kind of confusing with the environment. And this pops up in spring, especially across the US Pacific coast. You will see it in April, starting with April until June, and this depends very much on altitude because this is such a sensitive mushroom to the environmental conditions. It also has medicinal properties. You may see them here. Now, if you're thinking about the key features for this mushroom, you'll see that the cap has a conical shape. Sometimes it's also roundish. That's why it's called Morchella conica. Conica comes from the cone. And definitely the true morel has pits and ridges. And there's a difference in coloring between them. Olive brown for pits and blackish gray to dark red ridges. So the ridges are actually somewhat darker. Um, the cap it's intergrown with the stem, so you won't see it like a skirt, like in the false morel. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And the entire body, fruit body, it's cartilaginous, rather rubbery in consistency. Um, and it is hollow inside. Here they are. So this is Morchella conica, or popularly it's called the Black Morel, and grows here in this cool environment. It's June, it's the 1st of June right now, and I believe that the season kind of shifted just because of the weather. It's been rainy lately, probably like 2 days ago, and as you may see the soil it's wet still. It's really wet. So this particular mushroom loves the sandy soil, which is pretty moist, and especially you'll find it in areas where
you have some kind of creek flowing around, and especially if the creek forms a kind of little island where brings in a lot of moisture and keeps the place moist all the time. So the season it's not lasting too much, but still, yeah, we'll come to get those too. So this is a really cool mushroom, and it's an amazing find all the time. It can grow pretty big, and it's hollow inside. Yeah, so it doesn't really have maggots, but you can see that it's hollow inside right there. Yeah, and it has this big base, and yeah, it's better if you kind of place some more leaves on top of it and let it cook in there so you can come and collect some more mushrooms later. For example, here, if you see, there's a little bit of mycelium growing, so let's plant that back in the soil or in the leader and let it grow. Yep. So this is pretty much the soil type that the morel mushroom likes. It's sandy soil. Yeah, it also has some kind of sparkly things in there. Yeah. And this area right here, it's an area which is kept moist by this creek. Here, for example, you may see the creek right here. That's the creek that I'm talking about. Comes from there and kind of surrounds this little patch around here, and it keeps it moist. And let's see, maybe we'll find some morels around here, because this is a characteristic place for them to grow. Let's look around a little bit more. Yep. Oh, there it is. Here's one. Oh, yes. There you go. The famous morel mushroom. And there's another one right there. Cool. Beautiful sample. And the little one right there. And there's another one. So, also, I forgot to mention you that you'll find these, especially in places with burned wood around. This doesn't really have any burned wood, but it's known that morel mushroom likes burned sites. So, yeah, let's look around a little bit more. There's another one right here. And another one right there. We could leave it a little bit more to grow. Here you can see the other one. Cool, isn't it? Huh? And that's the stem. Wow. That's going to be a very good dinner for tonight. Or maybe I'll prepare them for lunch tomorrow. It really makes a very good omelette. This is a really cool find. Let's look around a little bit more. We might find some more today. Ah, there's another one. Cool. You know, people when find them, when you know a spot like this, it's better to find to share it with close friends. Not everybody is going to tell you a cool spot like this. Okay, so I guess that's it for today.
So the Black Morel can be confused with the early Morel, and this particular mushroom pops about 2 to 3 weeks earlier than the Black Morel. The Latin name for it is Verpa bohemica. This is also an edible mushroom, but you have to cook it well, or at least to boil it for like 15 to 20 minutes, toss the water, and then to cook with it. There are 3 distinctive characteristics that you have to look for in this case. This particular mushroom doesn't form pits and ridges. I mean, it tends to form these two, but they're not really well defined. And if you'll put these 2 pictures, and you can see the differences in there, but if you see it in the field, you will see the exact differences if you put both mushrooms next to each other. The second characteristic is that the early morel forms a skirt-like cap. This means that the cap it's not intergrown with the stalk, but you will see that it has rather a skirt, and it's attached to the stalk on the upper surface. And the third feature is that the stem it's rather long in this species and is very fragile. And when you'll make a cross section, you will see that actually it's stuffed with cottony-like contents inside. So it's not hollow like in the Black Morel. Now let's see some other mushrooms that you can confuse the Black Morel with. Now some other ones are the Morel mushroom, which is Morchella esculenta. This is a very famous mushroom because of its flavor, and it's really well appreciated across the world. Now it's very common in the Midwest, and as you may see, it has a rather roundish cap. It's not conical. And the second feature is that there's a difference in color. You see that this particular morel has a lighter color than the Black Morel. Now this is very flavorful and very good mushroom to find and to eat. The second mushroom that we might confuse the Black Morel with is the false morel, and some people eat it, but most people don't, and you have to boil it first if you really want to try it, but I would encourage you not to. It's deadly poisonous if you would try to eat it raw, and grows pretty much in the same habitat as the Black Morel. Now you see that there's some differences. Now this forms rather a brain-like cap, so it's not well defined into pits and ridges, and the color is different as well. So So pretty much these two, and there are some other morel species that you can confuse the black morel with, but there are different features that kind of tend to separate the black morel from those. Okay, so I hope that you understood what's with the morel mushroom and you learned something from it.